My name is Callum. I am 25 years old and I have been living alone in this old house on the outskirts of York for some years now. It is a small weathered place with creaky wooden floors, faded wallpaper in the kitchen, and a garage at the back that is more of a workshop than anything else. The house belonged to my parents before the accident. A head-on collision on the A64 that took them both when I was just 18. I inherited it along with a pile of bills and a silence that never quite goes away. I do not change much around here. The photos of them still hang on the living room wall, gathering dust, and their old coffee mugs sit untouched in the cupboard. It is as if moving anything would mean losing what is left of them. During the day, I work as a mechanic at a local garage in the city center. Steady work, oil changes, brake jobs, the occasional engine rebuild. Nothing glamorous, but it pays the rent on this place and keeps me busy. At night, I come home and tinker with my dad's old Ford pickup in the garage. It is a rust bucket from the 70s, yet fixing it piece by piece feels like holding on to something solid. I do not go out much. No pubs, no parties. I have had a couple of girlfriends over the years, but they never stuck around. I suppose I do not open up enough. The truth is, after losing my parents, I built walls. Letting someone in means risking losing them too, and I have had enough of that for one lifetime. So most evenings, it is just me, a ready meal, and the hum of the fluorescent light in the garage. A storm had rolled in from the coast. Heavy rain pounded the roof as though it were trying to break through. I had just finished sanding down a fender on the pickup when I heard it. A faint knocking at the front door. Who on earth would be out in this weather? I wiped my hands on a rag and walked to the door, peering through the peephole. Nothing but darkness and sheets of rain. The knocking came again, louder this time. My heart quickened. Living alone out here teaches one to be cautious. I grabbed a torch from the hall table just in case and cracked the door open. Standing on my porch was a young woman drenched from head to toe. She looked about my age, perhaps a little younger, with long dark hair plastered to her face and shoulders hunched against the cold. Her clothes, a light jacket over a t-shirt and jeans, were soaked through, and she was shivering hard. Water dripped from her in puddles on the welcome mat. "I am so sorry," she said, her voice trembling. "I did not know where else to go. Can I come in, just for a minute?" I hesitated. Strangers do not show up at my door, especially not in weather like this. But she did not look dangerous, just scared and freezing. "What happened?" I asked, keeping the door only halfway open. She hugged her arms tighter around herself. "I was hitchhiking back to university. The chap who picked me up started acting weird, saying things that made me uncomfortable. We argued and he kicked me out on the side of the road. I have been walking for miles in this rain. Your house was the first one with lights on." Hitchhiking at night sounded risky as anything. I scanned the street behind her, empty, just the rain-slicked pavement reflecting my porch light. No car in sight, no one lurking. She shifted her weight, teeth chattering. Fine, I thought. I could not leave her out here to freeze. "All right," I said, stepping aside. "Come in, but just until the rain lets up." She nodded gratefully and stepped inside, dripping water on the entryway rug. I closed the door behind her and switched on the hall light. Up close, she was pretty, clear blue eyes, freckles across her nose, but right now she simply looked exhausted. "Thank you," she murmured. "I am Freya Bennett." "Callum," I replied. "Stay there. I will get you a towel." I went to the linen cupboard and grabbed a couple of clean towels, then rummaged in my bedroom for an old sweatshirt and trousers that might fit her. When I came back, she was still standing in the same spot, as if she did not want to track water any further in. "Here," I said, handing them over. "Bathroom is down the hall. Change if you want. I will make some tea." She took the clothes with a small smile. "You are a lifesaver." While she changed, I put the kettle on and dug out some chamomile tea from the back of the pantry, something my mum used to make on stormy nights. The house felt strange with someone else in it. I could not remember the last time I had had company. By the time the water boiled, Freya emerged, toweling her hair dry and wearing my oversized sweatshirt. It hung loose on her, but she looked warmer. I handed her a mug. "Sugar?" "No thanks," she said, wrapping her hands around it. We sat at the kitchen table, the rain drumming steadily outside. An awkward silence settled, but she broke it first. "So you live here alone?" "Yes," I said, sipping my own tea. Since I was 18, parents passed away. Her eyes softened. I am sorry. That must be tough. I shrugged. You get used to it. What about you? University? I am a final year student at the University of York, art major, painting mostly. My family is from London. They are loaded. Dad owns a property firm. They think art is a hobby, not a career, and are always pushing me toward business classes. I nodded. It sounded like pressure I could not relate to, yet I understood the frustration in her voice. Must be hard, feeling as though your path is already mapped out. She looked at me, really looked, as if I had touched on something. Exactly. That is why I hitched tonight. I did not want to call them for a ride. They would just lecture me. We talked a little more about her latest painting project and how I had got into fixing cars because my dad taught me. It was easy, surprisingly. No deep stuff, just surface level. But it filled the quiet in a way I had not realized I missed. Eventually I said, "You can crash on the sofa. I will drive you to the bus stop if you need." She smiled, genuine this time. "Thanks, Callum. I am glad it was your door I knocked on." I showed her to the living room, tossed her a blanket and pillow. As I headed to bed, I paused in the hallway. The house did not feel as empty tonight. For the first time in years, there was another heartbeat under this roof. I was not sure what to make of it, but as I lay there listening to the rain, a small part of me did not mind. I woke to the smell of coffee. My automatic brewer had kicked in as always. For a second, I forgot about the girl on the sofa. Then I heard soft footsteps in the kitchen and it all came back. I pulled on a shirt and headed down the hall. Freya was already up, folding the blanket I had given her. She looked better in daylight, hair dry and wavy, color back in her cheeks. My sweatshirt dwarfed her, sleeves rolled to her elbows. "Morning," she said with a tentative smile. "I hope you do not mind. I made myself some coffee." "No, go ahead," I replied, pouring a cup for myself. "Sleep okay?" "Better than I expected. That sofa is comfier than it looks." She paused, glancing out at the gray sky. "The rain has almost stopped. I should probably head out soon." I nodded, yet something in me was not in a rush. "No hurry. The bus stop is not far. Want some breakfast? I have eggs and toast, nothing fancy." She hesitated, then nodded. "Sure, if it is not too much trouble." It was not. I scrambled eggs while she toasted bread, and we sat at the table as if it were normal. The house felt different with her there, less echoey perhaps. We talked more easily now. She told me about her art classes, how she loved painting landscapes but struggled with abstracts. "It is like trying to capture a feeling instead of a place," she said, buttering her toast. "Sometimes it works. Sometimes it just looks like a mess." I chuckled. "Sounds like fixing cars. You think you have got it figured out? Then one loose bolt ruins everything." She laughed, a light sound that cut through the morning quiet. "This place is peaceful. Back home it is always schedules and expectations. Here I feel like I can just breathe." I did not know what to say. Peaceful was not a word I would use for my life, but hearing her say it made me see the house differently. After we ate, I offered to drive her to the bus stop. She accepted, and we headed out in my pickup, the old Ford I had been working on. The drive was short through the wet streets. At the stop, she grabbed her damp jacket from the back seat and turned to me. "Thanks again, Callum, for everything." "No problem," I said. "Get home safe." She paused, hand on the door handle. "If I come back this way sometime, maybe at weekends, would that be okay? I mean, if you are not busy." I blinked, surprised. Why would she want to? But the words came out anyway. "Yeah, sure. The door is always open." She smiled, then hopped out and waved as the bus pulled up. I watched her go, then drove back home. The house felt emptier than before. I buried myself in work, long shifts at the garage, late nights on the truck, yet I caught myself glancing at the door now and then, wondering. Then one evening, there was a knock. I opened it to find Freya standing there, dry this time, holding a box of donuts from a place in the city center. "Hey," she said. "I was in the area. Thought I would say thanks properly." I let her in, and just like that, it became a thing. She started showing up regularly, usually with something small. Donuts one time, a thermos of herbal tea the next. "My roommate buys this stuff," she would say. "Supposed to help with stress." We would sit in the kitchen or out in the garage talking whilst I worked on the pickup. One time, she asked about the tools. "What is this for?" she said, picking up a socket wrench. "Loosening bolts," I explained. "Here, try it." I showed her how to change a tire on the old Ford. Basic stuff, but she dived in, grease on her hands by the end. "Not bad," I said, wiping my own hands. "You pick it up quick," she grinned. "Art is all about details. This is not so different, except messier." As time went on, she opened up more. Her family was old money in London. Dad ran a big property firm. Mum sat on every charity board. "They have got my life planned out," she said one afternoon, sitting on a stool in the garage. "Graduate, join the company, marry some chap from their circle, but I just want to paint, travel, maybe not live in a cage." I nodded, tightening a bolt. "Sounds suffocating." After my folks died, I had no plan at all. Just survived, worked odd jobs, kept the house from falling apart. It is lonely, but at least it is mine. She looked at me, then really looked. "You do not seem lonely. You seem steady, like you know who you are." I shrugged it off, but her words stuck. In return, I told her bits about the accident, how the call came late at night, how I sold their car to pay the mortgage. "I do not let people get too close," I admitted. "Hurts less that way." She did not push, just listened. No pity, no advice, and somehow that made it easier. She started leaving things behind, an earring on the coffee table, a sketchbook in the living room. "Oops," she would say with a laugh. "I will grab it next time." I did not mind. In fact, I started looking forward to those knocks. The house did not echo as much. Weekends were no longer just empty hours, they were something to anticipate. We never called it anything, no dates, no labels, but there was a comfort in it, a quiet rhythm. She would show up, we would talk, fix something, share a meal, and each time she left the place felt a little less like walls and memories. It felt like home again in a way I had not known since I was a kid. Our time together became the highlight of my week, her laugh echoing in the garage, her questions about carburetors turning into lessons where she would end up with oil smudges on her cheeks. I found myself stocking the fridge with things she liked, fresh berries, that herbal tea she always brought but sometimes forgot. It was not anything dramatic, just small shifts. But those shifts made the house feel alive again, like the walls were breathing easier. Then one afternoon, the sky had been threatening all day, grey clouds hanging low over York as though they were about to burst. I was in the garage, elbow deep in the Ford's engine, trying to diagnose a stubborn rattle in the exhaust. The radio played some old rock station faintly in the background, drowned out by the occasional rumble of thunder. I did not hear her knock at first, perhaps because of the storm building outside, but then the side door creaked open, and there she was, Freya, holding 2 steaming mugs and a paper bag from the coffee shop in the city center. "Hot cocoa," she said, stepping in and shaking off a few raindrops from her jacket. Figured it would go well with the weather, and I grabbed some sandwiches too, turkey and avocado, your favorite. I wiped my hands on a rag and took one of the mugs, the warmth seeping through the ceramic. "Thanks. Perfect timing. This rattle is driving me nuts." She set the bag down on the workbench and leaned against it, watching me work. The air felt different that day, thicker, maybe from the humidity or something else. We chatted at first like always, her latest art project, a landscape of the River Ouse that was not coming together right, my gripe about a picky customer at the garage who insisted his transmission was haunted. But the conversation trailed off sooner than usual, replaced by longer silences. She stood closer than normal, her shoulder brushing mine as I reached for a wrench. I felt it then, a shift like the air before lightning strikes. She set her mug down and turned to face me fully. "Callum," she said softly, her voice cutting through the quiet hum of the radio. "Have you ever thought, what if I stayed here longer, not just at weekends, like really stayed?" The question hung there, heavy. I straightened up, tools still in hand, and met her eyes, those blue eyes, steady but searching. My mind raced. Of course I had thought about it in the quiet moments after she left, when the house echoed again. But saying it out loud meant crossing a line. "Freya," I started, setting the wrench down. "You know it is not that simple. Your family, your life in London, it is worlds away from this, from me. I am just a chap fixing cars in a rundown house. What do I have to offer? She stepped closer, the space between us shrinking. That is exactly why. With you, it is real. No expectations, no plans forced on me. I feel like myself here. I hesitated, my heart pounding. The differences flashed through my head. Her dad's fancy firm, the way she had talked about their big house with the manicured lawn. Me? I barely kept this place from falling apart. And deeper than that, the fear. I had lost my parents in a blink. Letting her in meant risking that pain all over again. I'm not sure I'm ready for that, I admitted. What if it does not work? What if you realize this is not enough? She did not back away. Instead, she reached up, her hand brushing my cheek, soft against the stubble. What if it is? Before I could answer, she closed the gap, her lips meeting mine. It was gentle at first, a tentative press like testing the waters. No rush, no fireworks exploding in my head. Just her, warm and real, tasting faintly of cocoa. My hands found her waist, pulling her closer without thinking, and the kiss deepened, slow and honest. It was not about passion overwhelming us. It was about everything we had been building spilling over in that moment. When we finally pulled apart, her forehead rested against mine, our breaths mingling. If I said I wanted to stay here forever, she whispered, what would you say? I swallowed, the words catching. I would say I want that too. But reality is not a painting you can redo. Your dad would never accept this. And me? I have spent years keeping people out because it hurts too much when they are gone. We sank down onto an old bench in the garage, the rain now pounding steadily on the roof. She took my hand, lacing her fingers through mine. I know. My family has been mapping my life since I was born. University, the firm, some suitable husband. But I do not want that. I want to paint, to choose my own messes. And being here with you, it feels like the first real choice I have made. I told her more then about the nights after the accident, sleeping in my parents' room just to feel less alone. How I had pushed away friends because attachment scared me. She listened, her thumb tracing circles on my palm. You are not alone anymore, she said quietly. Not if you do not want to be. That night, we did not go inside right away. We stayed in the garage talking until the storm eased, our words weaving around the unspoken pull between us. Eventually, we did cross that line, her hand leading me to the house, the door closing behind us. It was not hurried or scripted. It was just us finding solace in each other under the dim light of my bedroom lamp. No details needed. It was tender, real, like everything else with her. But as we lay there afterwards, tangled in the sheets, I knew we had stepped into something deeper, something that scared me as much as it thrilled me. The future loomed, full of questions, but for that night it was enough. The days after that night in the garage felt like a dream I was not sure I deserved. Freya started spending more time at the house, slipping away midweek when her classes allowed. We would wake up together, her sketching in the mornings whilst I made coffee, or she would join me in the garage, handing me tools like we had been doing it forever. It was easy, too easy perhaps. But the questions I had raised that night lingered in the back of my mind. Her world and mine did not fit on paper. I pushed it down, focusing on the now. But deep down, I knew it could not stay hidden forever. It all came crashing down one crisp morning. I was outside washing the pickup in the driveway, the sun finally breaking through after days of fog. Freya was inside, probably still in bed. We had stayed up late talking about her upcoming art show at university. I heard the low rumble of an engine first, then saw it, a sleek black Mercedes pulling up to the curb, polished to a shine that screamed money. My stomach twisted. No one I knew drove anything like that. A man stepped out, tall, silver-haired, in a tailored coat and shoes that probably cost more than my monthly rent. He had Freya's eyes, but colder, sharper. He glanced at the house, then at me, his expression hardening as though he had already decided I was trash. "Is this where my daughter is?" he asked, his voice clipped and authoritative. I set the hose down, water pooling at my feet. "Who are you?" "Her father," he said, striding up the driveway without waiting for an invitation. "Philip Bennett." "And you must be the mechanic she has been wasting her time with." The front door opened then, and Freya appeared, her face paling as she saw him. "Dad, what are you doing here?" He turned to her, his tone softening just a fraction, but still edged with command. "I have been tracking your phone. You think I would not notice you sneaking off to some rundown area? Get your things. We are leaving." She froze in the doorway, glancing between us. "How did you even—" "It is for your own good." He cut in, not raising his voice, but making it clear there was no room for argument. "This," he gestured vaguely at the house, at me. "This is not your life. You are a Bennett. You have responsibilities, a future at the firm, connections that matter, not this." His eyes flicked to me again, dismissive, as if I were a smudge on his windscreen. I stepped forward, hands balling into fists at my sides. "She can make her own choices." He laughed, a short, humorless bark. "Choices? Son, look around. You are a grease monkey in a falling-apart house. What future do you offer her? Poverty? Isolation? She has a legacy to uphold. Do not flatter yourself thinking this is anything more than a rebellion." Freya's eyes met mine, pleading and apologetic. "Dad, please. It is not like that." "Enough," he said, his patience thinning. "I have already spoken to your professors. You are coming home now." The air grew thick. I wanted to fight, to tell him to get off my property, but what could I say? He was not wrong about the differences. Freya hesitated, her hand on the doorframe, tears welling up. "Callum, I am sorry," she whispered, barely audible. She grabbed her bag from inside, not even looking back as she walked to the car. Her dad opened the passenger door for her, shooting me one last glance like a warning. Then they were gone, the Mercedes pulling away smoothly and leaving tire marks on the wet pavement. I slammed the house door shut behind me, but it did not block out the silence that rushed in. Everything looked the same. Her sketchbook on the coffee table open to a half-finished drawing of the garage, her jacket draped over the sofa arm still carrying the faint scent of her shampoo. I sank into a chair, staring at the wall. How had it come to this so fast? We had talked about the risks, but I had not expected it to hit like a freight train. The first few days were numb. I threw myself into work. Extra shifts at the garage, staying late to avoid coming home. But every corner reminded me, the sofa where she had slept that first night, the kitchen table where we had shared breakfasts, the garage bench where we had kissed. I found one of her earrings under the couch, small and silver, and it sat heavy in my palm like a weight I could not throw away. We had not exchanged numbers, stupid in hindsight. She had always just shown up, and with her family watching, she probably could not risk it anyway. I had no way to reach her, no idea if she was okay or if her dad had locked her down. Time dragged on. I tried to forget. I fixed the pickup until it ran perfectly. I cleaned the house from top to bottom. I even went out for a beer with a coworker one night. But it was forced. The emptiness was not new. I had lived with it since my parents died. But now it ached deeper, sharper, because I had let myself imagine something more. Nights were the worst. I would lie awake replaying her words. "I want to stay here forever." Had it been real or just a moment? I realized then how much I had opened up, how she had slipped past my walls without me noticing. And now with her gone, those walls felt as if they were closing in. I was not angry at her. How could I be? She was caught in a life she had not chosen, but the hurt settled in my chest, heavy and unrelenting, making every breath a reminder of what I had almost had. The days dragged by like a bad dream I could not shake. The house mocked me with its quiet. Every creak of the floorboards, every shadow in the garage reminded me of what was missing. I had stopped working on the Ford. The tools sat untouched, gathering dust. At the garage in the city center, I buried myself in engines and transmissions, taking every overtime shift to avoid coming home. But even there, my mind wandered. I would catch myself staring at a wrench, remembering how she had held one, grease on her fingers, laughing at her own clumsiness. Her sketchbook still lay on the coffee table. I could not bring myself to move it. No calls, no messages, nothing. Her world had swallowed her back up, and I was left with the echoes. I told myself it was for the best. What did I have to offer anyway? A mechanic's paycheck? A house full of ghosts? She deserved the life her dad laid out. Stability, success. But the logic did not ease the ache in my chest. Nights were endless. I would lie awake replaying that kiss in the garage, her words about staying forever. Had it all been a fantasy, a break from her real life? I started avoiding the living room altogether, eating standing up in the kitchen, sleeping with the television on for noise, anything to fill the void. Then one chilly evening, as I sat at the kitchen table nursing a cold beer and staring at the wall, it happened again. A knock at the door, soft at first, then firmer. My heart stuttered. It could not be. I set the bottle down, hands unsteady, and walked to the door. Through the peephole there she was, Freya, standing on the porch in a simple coat, no fancy car behind her, just the streetlight casting a glow on her face. She looked determined, but tired, as if she had been carrying something heavy. I opened the door. The cold air rushed in. "Freya." "Hey," she said, her voice steady but soft. "Can I come in?" I stepped aside without a word, closing the door behind her. She did not have a bag, no suitcase, just herself. We stood in the entryway, the silence thick. "What are you doing here?" I finally asked, my voice rougher than I intended. She took a deep breath, meeting my eyes. "I talked to my dad. Really talked, not just argued. I told him I am not joining the firm. I am finishing my degree in art, and after that I will figure it out on my own terms." I blinked, processing. "He cut you off?" She nodded. "Yes, no more allowance, no more safety net. I got a part-time job at a coffee shop near campus. It is minimum wage, but it is mine." She paused, glancing around the familiar room. "I did not come back because I need a place to crash. Callum, I came because this is where I choose to be." My chest tightened. "You sure? This life, it is not easy. No big house, no plans, just this." She stepped closer, her hand finding mine. "That is what I want. Real, not the cage they built for me." I spent that time back home feeling as if I was suffocating. Every dinner, every lecture about my future, it was not mine. But here with you, I breathe. I choose. I searched her face, looking for doubt, but there was none, just that steady blue gaze. "What if you regret it? What if it is too hard?" She squeezed my hand. "I am not running anymore, and I am not asking for forever right now. Just now. A place that is real." The words hit me like a release. All the walls I had rebuilt cracked. I pulled her into a hug, her head tucking under my chin, the familiar scent of her shampoo washing over me. "Okay," I whispered. "Stay." She did not have much with her that night, just what fitted in her backpack from university. But soon after she brought more, a few clothes, her art supplies, a lamp she had found at a charity shop. No grand move-in, no ceremony. She simply settled. The sofa became her spot for sketching in the evenings. I cleared a corner in the garage for her easel right next to my toolbox. We would work side by side, me under the hood of the Ford, her painting strokes of color onto canvas. The radio played softly, our conversations weaving in and out like threads. It was not perfect. We argued sometimes about money, about her calling her dad. She did eventually, a tense but civil talk. But we talked through it. No slamming doors, no walking away. And slowly, the house transformed. The living room got a fresh coat of paint. Her idea, soft blue like her eyes. We planted bulbs in the yard for spring. Evenings we would cook together, simple meals like pasta or grilled cheese, laughing over burnt edges. One night, as we sat on the porch watching the stars peek through the clouds, she turned to me. "This feels right," she said. "Not because you saved me, Callum, but because we chose each other, even when we could have walked away." I nodded, pulling her close. "Yeah, it does. No wedding rings, no big promises, just us building something day by day." The house was not silent anymore. It hummed with life, her sketches on the fridge, her laugh in the kitchen. And for the first time since losing my parents, I did not fear attachments. Because with Freya, it was not about holding on tight. It was about choosing to stay every single day. Looking back on all that unfolded between Freya and me here on the outskirts of York, I realized the deepest lesson life taught me was this. No matter how fiercely the past has scarred you, no matter how loudly fear whispers that every door you open will only slam shut again and leave you bleeding, the bravest and most beautiful choice you will ever make is to keep choosing love anyway, day after quiet day, not because it promises forever without pain, but because it feels real, because it turns echoing rooms back into a home and turns a heart that learned only to hide into one that finally dares to stay. After losing my parents on that rainy stretch of the A64, I had sworn never to let anyone close enough to hurt me again. Yet Freya, with her paint-stained fingers and her soft London voice full of dreams her family could never understand, showed me that true belonging is not handed down by money or tradition. It is built in the small, steady moments. Sharing a mug of tea at the kitchen table, wiping grease from each other's cheeks in the garage, planting spring bulbs together in the yard so something green and hopeful can grow where there was only dust. She chose me even when her father's sleek Mercedes waited at the curb, and the whole world told her she was throwing her life away. I chose her even when every shadow in the house reminded me how quickly people can vanish. And in that choosing, we both found we were no longer alone. If my story has stirred something in your own chest tonight, that ache of old loss, that flicker of hope you thought you had buried, then please drop a comment below and tell me, what is the one choice you are ready to make today, no matter how scared you feel? And if these tales of ordinary hearts finding their way home mean something to you, do subscribe to the channel and tap that bell so you never miss the next one. Together, we will keep reminding each other that staying is always worth it.